This is the start of a series I would like to create where I interview industry professionals on topics to do with mental health and the realities of pursuing music as a career. This first interview is with Sam Cummings, who has been a part of the Funtime Frankies, the wedding band scene, and making a living in music for the last 20 years. I'm interviewing him on the realities of making it in music, how to make a living in music, and has he ever considered giving it up to build on my video about quitting music.
Thank you. Yeah. Do you want to tell us a bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, no, I'm Sam, professional guitarist, singer, bass player. Actually started as a bass player. I've been doing it for a long time now, probably close to 20 years.
To kick off the questions, how do you get into being a working musician? Is it purely skill-based or is it the people that you know?
You obviously want to be good, but it's probably actually the least important part. A lot of it is just doing it. I think people think the linear path is start early, like a bunch of bands, go to a music university, leave, suddenly professional player.
Mm-hmm.
I think the career path is much less linear because it's just so abstract. But this is just my opinion. I think the thing to state first is there is no one path.
Yeah.
It just happens how you did it. And that's kind of my hardest problem with people trying to talk about teaching how to be a pro or how to get into the industry, is there isn't a way into the industry. The way for me was to just play, and so I just played with people.
And it was the people that kind of saw you doing that asked you to go on the gigs with them.
Yeah, well, because suddenly people talk about it, even just in a tiny little town, people go, oh, he's good, get him on a gig, oh, he's good, and then suddenly it just snowballs into an actual professional band will give you a call and be like, we need a bass player, can you do it?
I mean, you put me in that situation when you brought me into the wedding band scene and my name got passed around a little bit, and I got put onto one of the agencies that you work for.
Yeah.
And so I then quit being a bartender, and the income is very scary because it's not...
Yeah, it disappears, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's the bit that's really intimidating, is when you go, right, I'm a professional musician now, and you've got an empty diary.
How much would you say is based on knowing people and skill?
Level of skill required for it is quite low. Now, the average level of the people that play it is really high. It doesn't matter how amazing you are, really. The two things matter most, which is be nice to hang out with for 4 hours. If you can be funny and nice to hang with, people will hire you just based off that. And also, do they actually know your phone number so they can give you a call?
When you were growing up, was your dream to be a musician, and what did you dream of doing as a musician?
We had a music lesson in, what would it be now, was it year 9? I think so, something like that. And the teacher there, he played, it was Heartbreaker, Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
And he was playing that on bass guitar, and I just remember seeing that and went, yeah, I think I'll have a bit of that actually.
So what became the dream after seeing that?
I mean, the obvious one, which was I was going to obviously be brilliant and conquer the world as a mega rock star.
And that moves us actually on to the third question of, do you think you've accomplished that dream, and has the dream changed over time?
Yeah, well, obviously no, but at the same time, yeah, the dream changed and it doesn't change. I mean, musicians and the music industry have a bit of an unhealthy relationship with ego and Instagram gigs, or I call them Instagram gigs, and honesty. I want it to be like a Joe Bonamassa type figure where I'm taking blues rock, heavy blues rock or whatever, to the masses. I always wanted to play. I wanted to play something not Wembley Arena, but the Wembley venue, to a hardcore following of fans that came to see me was my defined goal.
Yeah.
Obviously, saying that out loud, it's pie in the sky stuff. It's not doable. Don't get me wrong, but at the same time, that's the luckiest 0.1% of people, and it's cool to have a goal like that. But did I achieve that dream? Absolutely not. Am I upset about it? Not really.
Do you think not achieving that has changed your dream over time? Has something became a bit more real and it's like, oh, I can go down this pathway instead?
Rather than a dream, it became a goal, which was make a living out of music.
What do you consider to be making it in music, and has that changed with time?
When you first start, people think, so great. A member of my extended family once asked my parents, so Sam, he plays guitar, but is he any good? Because I'm not Eric Clapton or whatever. And so she just considered that I couldn't be any good. Because that's kind of a general perception, is like, if you're really good, you end up on radio or you sell millions of albums, and if you're not, then you don't and you're shit, which is unfair. But that's, I don't blame people. It's the same with someone who's good at football. You just assume that they'd play for Man United. I do think that the difference between someone on that stage giving it their best versus someone who isn't on that place but is doing the job can be negligible, or it can be a large distance depending. Because again, there's different grades of skill, but I don't think it's just a reflection on your ability if you don't ever break into the big time.
Is making it in music to you making it that big time, or is it something else?
It's being able to do it.
Being able to do it in terms of make a living from it? Or
It's hard. Stick around long enough, you'll have periods where you feel like you're not gonna.
Well, that actually brings us to our fifth question. Have you ever thought of giving it up?
I did.
Yeah.
So I went and did some cruises. I met a girl on there. She was really cool. We ended up becoming a couple for a bit, and I moved to London to kind of be with her.
Right.
And while I was there, I was still being a musician, but I wasn't really. And I kind of checked out, and I was like, do you know what? Maybe being normal would be good.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I hated it. I just don't. I can't do it. I worked retail, and I really hated it.
How did you get back into music?
I just asked for gigs.
Right. What kind of made you realise though that you wanted to get back?
I was miserable as fuck. Put that in your video.
That is going in the video?
Yeah.
Because I say in my first video, like, where would you be without music? And would your life be as fulfilling? And was it without music?
No, I was depressed as hell. And I still struggle with stuff like that, but it was just shit. Like, here's my overall goal. You want the big tagline.
Yeah.
I want to wake up in the morning and not feel a hanging sense of looming dread that I have to go do my job.
Yeah.
Because that's bollocks and I can't stand it. And I'm lucky enough that I found a thing that lets me do that without that mostly. Sometimes I still get anxiety, or I'll look at the diary and be like, oh, it's a bit quiet or whatever, but that always fixes itself. And also, PSA, musicians everywhere starting out or whatever, there will be times when mum and dad probably have to help you out because stuff's a bit rough and you haven't got stuff going on. That can happen at the beginning of your career, in the middle of your career, whenever. It's fine, you haven't failed. Don't let people bully you into thinking that you've done it wrong. It just happens. I can't sit here and lie to a camera saying that I never needed help the entire time that I've done it. Sometimes you've got to accept that this is what you have been able to do with the tools that you had and the connections you had and the money that you had. Like, the biggest problem with me chasing my original dream is that sometimes I need to pay bills.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's okay to not scrape the stratosphere. And yeah, I think everyone thinks about giving up. Usually because of that. Like the whole thing of, well, maybe this just hasn't worked, maybe I'm not good enough, or whatever. And then I think you spend some time out of it and two things happen. Either you go, yeah, I was done, actually. And I think some people that I know and some people that I see around might need to try that, because there's a lot of people that get really unhappy doing the job and they just don't want to do it anymore. And it's cool. Like, just leave.
Yeah.
There's no shame in it.
Take a break.
Yeah, and you'll either be like, oh, I was done.
Yeah.
And that's great, because you'll go get a normal job and you'll have a weekend.
There will be some people that will be scared to not practice for a day. And I used to be one of them people. It's not illegal to want to be away from music.
Well, yeah, I think you've got to take a break every now and again or you go mad. I just think there's a bit of a narrative that gets pushed where you've got to be practicing for 26 hours a day.
I used to have a structured 4-hour routine before I allowed myself to have fun playing bass.
Yeah.
And those 4 hours ruled me. I used to be in town and I used to have to get a bus home to make sure I did my 4 hours and then get a bus back to town. But those 4 hours, I dreaded them every single day. And I narrowed that 4-hour routine down to 30 minutes. And I still do that every day. But it means I've got 3.5 extra hours. And I won't do it some days because I won't feel like it.
I was going to say, you won't do it some days. I don't know, I think it's just okay to be in a spot where you need to take a break, or you need to, and whether that's take 2 weeks where you don't play anything and then you just go, oh, I actually really want to shred some guitar, I think I'm just going to get my guitar out for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, Adam Neely after Berkeley, I don't think he played bass for 6 months. What was it in the music industry that kind of made you want to come back to uni?
So, pandemic happens and I've lost everything and I've got no money, and I just thought this can't ever happen again, because, and this is the other thing, being a professional musician probably means that you've got to have multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
You can be a lecturer, you can be a technician, you can be whatever, it's a sound guy. I'm trying to think of all the other stuff.
So what did you think getting a degree would help with?
I wanted to become more employable because, spoilers, I left high school with not much.
Mm-hmm.
And decided that would be good because it would leave me no alternatives to playing music, no alternatives, punk rock, all the rest of it, which is a stupid idea and you shouldn't do. Basically, then I called up the RNCM and was like, any chance I could join?
Yeah.
And they said yes.
Yeah.
And I'd rather be future-proofed, and also I don't want anything unfortunate like a pandemic or etc. to take it all away from me again.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't mind having a place of my own. So I figured I could make myself more employable in the future, use all the experience I've got to be a lecturer or something. I think I'd be good at it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I went with that. And I don't think that's failing. I don't think it's that I'm not good enough. I think a lot of people that have all the sweet ego pictures up of them playing a big sweet festival in a town or wherever, or like on a big stage, wouldn't talk about it, but they aren't actually big, awesome mega session players. They are teachers and function players that have a sweet gig that they do every now and again that doesn't pay all that well.
So that's all we had time for. I hope you found it interesting and entertaining, and I'll leave Sam's Instagram in the description below. I've got more interviews lined up that I'm really looking forward to, so if you enjoyed this video, please let me know what you thought, and until next time, thank you very much for watching.
I don't watch telly, so when people bring me up on, have you seen this show? It's like, not really. And I don't watch telly not because of the really pious thing, which is another thing that annoys me, when people do this where it's like, I just spend all my time 17 hours a day practicing. I play Doom.
Yeah.
The original Doom. I play that still.
I mean, my phone's currently set up where a TV would go. I don't even own a TV.
Yeah. But that's because you're poor.